Mike, a lot to get to. You were, as we've talked about a bunch, the offensive coordinator for Jordan Love. I want to get some thoughts on the Packers moving forward here. But, we were just talking kind of off air. As a former OC, and who knows if you'll dip your toe back in at some point here in the near future, but what we're seeing right now from the kind of the bowls and the opt-outs and the portals, from the folks that you've talked to, how do we figure this out moving forward? The playoff expanding next year, I don't think they'll go away because the TV ratings are still good and there's still money in them. But, what should we expect moving forward, kind of, in your opinion, with the bowl system?
Lifelong member of the fraternity of college football. I mean, I was a coach's kid. I played, college football at Boise State, and then I've coached for the last 18 years. And really this season, taking the year off of coaching, this has been my first year as a fan, a connoisseur of college football. And be quite frank, I'm not looking forward to a majority of these bowls. And the reason is because of what the unintended consequences of the portal being opened up, and the NIL world just being so enticing to so many different student athletes that, like, what are we even watching? Like, Tim, what are we watching? Like, do we know who's playing? Do we know who's going to opt out, like, potentially a day before the game or the day of the game? Everybody's got bad agents in their ears telling them that they shouldn't play in this game. And these are like some players like Sam Hartman, great example. You're fighting Irish, Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Like, he should go out and try to earn some money because right now his body work isn't worthy of being a draftable, really like top 2 quarterback in, on a roster in the NFL. That's the bottom line. So I'm just disappointed with the bowl season. I've lost my steam for the college football, and I'm waiting for the CFB to get back up a little bit, because at least you're going to see, for the most part, the best of what those teams have to offer.
Mike, you mentioned it. One game we do know where the players are going to play, Alabama, Michigan. How do you break this down as a coach? Saban, Harbaugh, both experienced, both have had a ton of success. Is there an advantage? What do you look for just in general here, Michigan, Alabama?
I think it's going to be a great football game. I think it's going to play out very similar to how most of Alabama's games throughout the course of this season against quality opponents have played out. And that's, final possession type games. And I think that Alabama has trended in the direction of finding ways to win those games. Jalen Milroe, a player that's already decided to come back for another year. Obviously, you should have. But I just think that this Alabama team, behind Jalen Milroe's athleticism and, frankly, his ability to find ways to win games late, I think this Alabama team is trending in a major positive direction. I think it's going to be a challenge for Michigan. I think Michigan obviously has, a whole bunch of talent. They've been dominant throughout a majority of the season. I just think that they haven't seen the physicality in the trenches and the speed on the perimeter that can match them, that you don't see on a week-to-week basis in the Big Ten Conference. I like Alabama in this game. I think Alabama is going to win close, but I just believe in a Nick Saban-led team that's trending in a positive direction throughout the course of a season. It wouldn't surprise me if they're holding up the title trophy at the end of the season.
Mike Sanford, longtime offensive coordinator, college football, head coach at Western Kentucky, and on most recently interim basis with Colorado just a year ago. What's this month like for coaches? I know it's different, even just 1 year removed, with the NIL and everything. But sitting back, you've got National Signing Day. That's up tomorrow. So you're out recruiting, but you're game planning. When you were at Stanford, when you were at Notre Dame, you coached in some really big bowl games there. So what's this month like, Mike, of preparation for these 4 teams, Alabama, Michigan, and Washington versus Texas? How many different wrinkles are you putting in? What's this month of preparation like?
Well, for those 4 teams, and I'd say that they are the outlier in all of college football right now, because every other team is dealing with, really more the importance being more on next season than their bowl game. And so the portal and the NIL and figuring out how it's all going to be allocated, I just think that those 4 teams are pretty much a throwback to what it used to be, minus the early signing period and the transfer portal entries for those 4 teams. But what I would say is that it's a really fun time of the year for coaches. If you're playing in a game that you're going all hands on deck for, which I really think there are only 2 games in this bowl season that are that way. And I mean that.
Yeah.
And that's why, even being here on VSiN as a betting network, like buyer beware on betting significant money on bowl games that aren't the big ones, because I think there's so little importance placed on those bowl games. And I think the four teams that are preparing for the CFP, there's a lot of opportunities to go back and see what you did, self scout, look at your tendencies. And then the thing I always loved is when, a young graduate assistant or a quality control coach came up to me and said, "Coach, you always run this out of this set." And I go, "Awesome. Tendencies are made to be broken." So if it was a heavy run personnel grouping, awesome opportunity to be able to run a flea flicker or some type of hard play action pass or a pop pass to a tight end. This time of year, it gives you that opportunity to be able to catch your breath just a little bit while you're still out recruiting and doing all the things. But it did allow you in more of a controlled environment over a course of 3-4 weeks to be able to prepare and put forth a really good plan, but not only a really good plan with some wrinkles, but a plan that could be practiced over the course of 3 or 4 weeks. Thus, you're able to perfect some of those things that you want to build off of what you've done on this throughout the early part of the season.
Mike, give me a Cliff Notes version of these quarterbacks going into the NFL. I guess I'll ask it this way. Williams in May, is there a big gap? How big is that gap? And let's just say you're a team that needs a quarterback and you can't pick those 2. So you're picking maybe 3 or on. Who would be your guy? So give me your thoughts on just, those guys in general.
Well, as a regular guest on this program, Tim will tell you which direction I'm going to be going in general about this conversation. But I think, Caleb Williams is a tremendous talent. My question on Caleb Williams is, throughout the course of this season, which is the season that prepares him to be a franchise-altering quarterback in next season, he didn't win. And you can blame it on the defense. But really good quarterbacks, they win games. They win big games. And in Caleb Williams' USC career, I think was tainted by losing significant games against quality opponents. And I think some of his immaturity did show up. But I think his skill sets, his athleticism, what he can do with the football, I think he's one of 2 people on planet Earth that can change up his arm slot the way he does, see things the way he does, the no-look passes that I've never coached, nor would I ever understand how to coach, because I think there's 2 people on planet Earth that can do that. But I love Caleb Williams as a talent, but I think there's question marks there. Drake May, I'm not a fan. I'm just going to be very honest. I think I see Mitchell Trubisky and Drake May. I see he's going to look beautiful at the combine. He's going to throw a great spiral. He's going to run well. Everybody's going to love everything about it. He'll be over prepared for all of the, general manager and coach meetings that happen at the combine, at the train station, or whatever they call it. I just don't think he's very good. I don't think he's a winner. I see he's got the eyeball test, but is he the guy to lead your franchise to the promised land? I don't see it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty convinced on that. I think he's more of a physical specimen and an arm talent quarterback. And I don't understand why NFL franchises keep drafting these types of guys in the first pick or the second pick of the draft. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Mike,
and then
go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead.
And then lastly, I mean, to me, somebody's getting an absolute steal in Michael Penix Jr. Say that, he has an injury history. Well, guess what? He didn't have an injury history in 2 seasons at Washington. He was healthy and he played through all types of stuff, sickness. He played through being dinged up. Michael Penix Jr. is a winner. If you won at Indiana and Tom Allen is the coach of the year, and then 3 years later, Tom Allen's fired as the head coach of Indiana, that's saying something. And then he goes to Washington, a program that was a 3-4 win team before he and Kalen DeBoer got to Washington. And now they're playing in the CFP and they're Pac-12 champions. I think his arm talent is explosive. The ball jumps out of his hand more than any quarterback in this draft. He has the athleticism, the escapability, but I think he has something that is so underrated. And that's just this intangible trait of winning football games and a team that rallies behind him. I could see a team like Denver, who's cash strapped here, with the Russ Wilson situation, him falling to, kind of that mid first round and having a franchise altering quarterback. I think that Michael Penix Jr., it will end up being the player of this draft.
45 seconds. Brock Purdy, he's the MVP favorite right now, but man, it feels like everyone kind of tries to knock at him. What do you see in Brock Purdy as a QB?
I think he's tremendously athletic. I think he has the most important trait of an elite quarterback, which is toughness. I mean, that sucker, he'll take off and tuck the ball when he needs to. He'll convert third downs when it might not be there. I think he's taken to Kyle Shanahan's system and perfected it. Brock Purdy is the real deal. But I'll be honest. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is doing historic things this year. So is Brock Purdy. But I think it's really hard not to give it to Christian McCaffrey in a year where I don't think that the quarterback play has been elite across the league. I think this is the year that a running back gets an MVP, and it should be Christian McCaffrey.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.